Today, my homie brought me a cool challenge build and helped me build this out. So the idea behind it is that you take the Stars Druid and then you break it down into its 3 sections. You have the Chalice, you have the Archer, and you have the Dragon. And then to do a specific build that focuses on each one. I thought it was a really cool concept, and today we wanted to share with you the Archery section of that build. We're going to do the other 2 as well, but if you want to see them earlier rather than later, we now have a Patreon, and it's going to allow you to get early access to those videos. So if you want to see those right now, you can go over to that Patreon and check them out right after this video. But we're not talking about those 2 right now. We are talking about the Archery form. Now, what this build is going to give us is a really quick setup. That's something that I wouldn't say normally for builds, but this one, bam, right on turn 1, you're setting up control and you're setting up damage instantly in controlled movement. It's really cool how fast this comes online. It's going to be very, very good at doing single target high amounts of damage and controlling the battlefield, as all druids are. And that's not it. We also managed to come up with some really sick flavor for this build. So without further ado, let's jump into it. As a race, we want to be the Harengon. The Harengon does several key things for us. I talked about getting online early, and they give us a boost to our initiative to help us do that. So bam, right off the gate, we're likely to go first. We're likely to get our spell off, hit them with that fight winning spell, and we're cooking. But that's not all they do for us. They give us proficiency in the perception skill for free, but more importantly, they give us a couple of bonus action disengages throughout the day. Now, as a druid, we don't want to be in close combat, so that bonus action disengage can be clutch, and it gives you a little bit of extra movement on top of it to help you get away after you disengage. As for our stats, our primary is going to be wisdom, our secondary is going to be dexterity, and our tertiary is going to be constitution. Everything else you can kind of work out based on the amount of points you have. For our first 3 levels, we are going to be going into Stars Druid, and we're going to be playing like a normal Stars Druid. Now, as the build suggests, we're going to be committing to doing the Archery starting form the mass majority of times. Now, what this starting form does for us is it allows us to have a bonus action spell attack that uses our wisdom modifier. Opening turn, fight winning spell. After that, we mix in guiding bolts and cantrips, and overall just be a great damage dealer and just a great druid. Now, things start changing once we hit level 4. We're going to start moving into the Swarmkeeper Ranger. Now, going into Ranger is going to give us a couple different things by just being a Ranger. You know, we're going to get the archery fighting style. We're going to be able to use a longbow. We're going to be able to use Hunter's Mark, so on and so forth. But really what we're here for is for Swarmkeeper Ranger 3 at level 6. Now, this is where things start getting really, really cool for us. At level 6, we are going to get Gathered Swarm. Now, Gathered Swarm lets us do one of 3 different things. It lets us increase our damage on hit, it lets us move ourselves 5 feet, or if they fail a strength saving throw, it lets us move them 15 feet in any direction we want, so long as it's horizontal. Now, this is pretty sick when combined with Spike Growth, and it's going to be the main thing that we're using because we're going to set up Spike Growth and go right into that forced movement, dragging people through it. Now, Gathered Swarm procs on an attack, but notice it doesn't say weapon attack, it says attack, which means all of our spell attacks work for it, including our archery from Starry Form, including our guiding bolt and our cantrips like Thorn Whip. So that's pretty sick. Now, Thorn Whip gets really interesting because it's going to move them 10 feet, and then also there's a chance of moving them 15 more. So with that one cantrip, you can be moving them 25 feet in 2 different directions. So if you're pulling them on Spike Growth, that's 25 feet of movement on Spike Growth. That's a lot of damage for one cantrip. That's pretty awesome. Where this really shines is that for most Swarmkeepers, it's all right, turn 1, we set up our Spike Growth, and then afterwards we have to wait till next turn to begin proccing it. We can set up Spike Growth and then instantly bonus action Starry Form, attack with that weapon. If we hit them, they have to make the save. They fail it, drag 15 feet, take that bonus damage right away. Next turn, we can start throwing out our guiding bolts. We can start throwing out our thorn whips. And really, those are going to be our higher damaging moves. And the bow that we're carrying is more about range. That if we're in a moment where we need more range than we do damage, the bow comes into play at that point. And if you keep taking into consideration that the Swarmkeeper is a wisdom-based save, because we're committed to our wisdom as opposed to our dexterity, it's going to be harder to save against that forced movement than it is normally for a Swarmkeeper Ranger, which is pretty cool synergy. As for our ASIs, we're definitely wanting to push our wisdom. So if we have an odd wisdom, we might want to go into one of those half feats. Fate Touched is always a solid bet, but you might find yourself taking Shadow Touch or even Telekinetic if you're feeling a bit spicy. After we get our wisdom to 20, we might want to start taking a look at Dex or finding a way to round out our Constitution. For example, if we have an odd Constitution, Resilient Constitution might be a great feat for us to take. But past that, we're just going to go directly into Druid for the rest, and just Druids are very powerful, and we're going to ride off of that, combining it with the more martial prowess that we get from being a Ranger, and the fact that we can, boom, start getting forced movement and Spike Growth off in the first turn. That combo is going to stick with us for the remainder of the campaign. So I mentioned some really sick flavor, and I am actually quite excited about this. So what do you get when you mix this swarm with stars? Lightning bugs. So the idea is that when you go into Starry Form, your swarm of bugs makes constellations. motions. When you use Guiding Bolt, you're sending one of your bugs careening towards them in a light explosion. Maybe same with your archery form attacks. I really like the flavor, compactness of a starry bug. I think those two go really well together and has a lot of fun flavor potential. Now that has been my take on a starry form archery specialist. Now what would your guys' take be on that, or how would you improve this one? Let me know in the comments down below. Once again, if you guys want to see the other two forms builds, they are already released on our Patreon. Those are going out earlier for our patrons, but they will be coming later for our YouTubians. But other than that, you guys are the best. We love you a whole bunch, and I hope you have yourselves a killer day. See you on the next one.